What up, Jesse?
What's up?
I'm pumped, man.
Are we recording?
Yeah,
That's good.
we are good to go. So, Kamala Harris, 2020,
Kamala.
the Harris and Biden campaign.
I've been talking so much shit on Kamala Harris. Most people like it. There are a few people who are pissed off at me right now.
Yeah.
But it seems like she deserves... I don't think she deserves to be treated very well.
Well, go ahead and you tell me why, and I'll explain why I think that this is a horrible pick.
Well, I mean, we watched, of course we watched her whole rise to stardom and then complete, utter demise when Tulsi Gabbard absolutely slayed her on stage,
dude.
which I loved it. Because I was pushing for Tulsi Gabbard the whole time, even though she was treated as like a Russian sympathizer and, because of some, and I don't even know why, because I mean, she speaks well, she's intelligent, she's beautiful.
Well, that was a Clinton thing too. Clinton was coming out against Tulsi.
Yeah, Clinton was trying to play it up like she was some kind of a Russian agent, or something like that. They try to say that she's an Assad apologist, all kinds of crazy stuff. So they totally destroy her.
Did she even get any electoral college votes at all? Kamala Harris? I don't think she did.
I don't think she got a single one. And
Tulsi Gabbard had two.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Tulsi had a couple, which is even more funny because as big as Kamala Harris was, she didn't she dropped out before Iowa, and because that was one when all this stuff happened after Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her, and I could already kind of tell that Kamala was pretty fake anyway.
Yeah.
Then I started looking up more information.
Well, fake
and none of it was good.
Well, here's the thing is, and as a criminologist, what really pisses me off is her horrendous track record as a prosecutor. And this has been my thing. I'm super progressive when it comes to criminology reform. I cannot stand how we arrest so many people in this country and our high penal count as far as like how many people that we imprison every year and that we have imprisoned. And prosecutors like her are the problem with America. It's and the problem is with prosecutors are that famous saying, "A prosecutor indict a ham sandwich." It's totally true because a lot of things that she was trying to prosecute people on, whether it was for truancy or it was for marijuana offenses, like those are ridiculous things. I don't know how she stacks up her record towards that. And then the biggest thing is. That's really frustrating is when you're innocent until proven guilty and the state has the burden of proof against you. It's not your job to prove yourself innocent at all. It's the state's job to prove that you're guilty. That's why they have prosecutors, and that's why you're afforded a defense attorney when you're Mirandized. So when they read you your Miranda rights and they say, hey, what you're supposed to say is jack shit. You're not supposed to say anything. So if you ever get Mirandized or the police officers ever detain you or arrest you, you don't say anything to them. You don't cooperate. Even if you're a good person, you don't say anything. You say, I'll take my attorney, please. Because you don't know what's going to happen when you go in there. You don't know what kind of prosecutor is going to go in there. And then you start getting into some of these conviction rates and some of these people that are on death row or in some of these people that have been in prison for multiple terms for 3 strikes laws that was put out by the 94 Crime Act or mandatory sentencing, which is horrible, and how we increase federal judges. You look at all this stuff and you look at how she's been a proponent of that. Nah, man, it just pisses me off. It's not like you're not for the working people because you hurt working people more than anything. Your type of prosecutor, the way your type of predatory the way you prosecute people and how you went after people, that's the problem with our penal code and our penal system.
Well, just in some of the pieces, like when she was going after people for truancy, when she's and because I mean, and just watching her in that press conference, she's so callous, right?
Yeah,
she's just talking about it, and she's just like. I think that if kids can't, I think, kids having an education is a big deal. Well, typically, I was a truant kid. I was an extremely truant kid. My parents, what would she have wanted? My parents to be arrested? I missed over 60 days my 5th grade year. I missed over 40 days my 6th grade year.
What's the definition
And
of truancy?
I was kicked out. Ben Shapiro was actually going over it today.
Because I think it's important that we define truancy and what it means and what it encapsulates.
I think he was looking up specifically what that law entailed. Because typically, it's if you're late so many, I think it was like being late 30 minutes so many different times, or missing X amount of days. And I think it was only a few days in terms of their rules.
You know what this says? It's a truancy, the action of staying away from school without good reason. Absenteeism, really.
Yeah, if you're late too much, because the state.
So what happens if you have a single mom that's working 3 jobs?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like the year after my ex-wife and I divorced, she was having to take the kids to school, right? Well, the elementary kids were late a bunch of times, and then when they were late a couple dozen times, right?
Yeah.
But they'd only missed
enough to create a pattern.
Yeah, but they'd only missed a few days, like all year. Like, I mean, I think they'd all missed under like 10 days for the whole year, kind of a thing. But they'd been late a couple, like I said, like 3 dozen times over the year, or maybe even a little more than that. Because she was having them she'd bring them in 5 minutes late constantly. And her and I would talk about it, and let's go get on me, whatever. So the city took us to court over it. They took us to court. I mean, all the charges got dropped. Everything got dropped because it was like, well, this is stupid.
What a waste of money.
Because we just went through a divorce, and we were telling the judge, and the judge was like, okay, yeah, I understand. And then, of course, everything's been fine since. It was just that 1 year when we were going through a divorce, and things were going on, And
here's the thing is, I can understand. And so what about homeschooling? Isn't there a way to track the kids at homeschooling to make sure that they're being taught specifically? I mean, how far do you want the state in your life? I think that's what we really need to discuss. And then how somebody like Kamala Harris, if she does become vice president or president, if Biden can't serve 2 terms, and how far do you want the state in your life? What's the agenda of that? I mean, do you think those policies that she puts for most of her adult life are just going to go away because she suddenly feels like she's progressive? Or do you think she's just using a talking point?
Yeah, and my point about truancy is that I think it's cruel. I think it's cruel to target truant kids or the parents of truant kids, because typically if the kid is truant like that, typically there's family problems. That's almost, in my experience and the people that I know, it's typically family problems. So you're just adding to their family problems by, they're already struggling. Because I mean, my parents, they were having their own problems, right? There was drug use, and there was this, and there was that, and there was a ton of things going on. So I mean, I guess the good idea would have been to arrest one of my parents. Oh, that would have helped us. That would have helped us a whole lot. That would have really proved a point to me. So I think that whole part, and the way she laughs about it, she's telling a story about talking to a woman who's already having problems, and she's having to say to her daughter that if you don't start going to school, they're going to arrest me. And she does her stupid laugh. I thought it was gross. I thought it was really gross.
It's just like you have no empathy. And then what's really going on? That's what we really need to discuss. And it's how far what are we doing? We don't focus on rehab at all in this country. We're prosecuting people for marijuana laws. I think it's 1,600, 1,500 convictions for marijuana use, which is that's just possession, by the way.
That was over her. Yeah, you're talking over her time.
Yeah.
Now, most of that, I did look at the numbers because I was watching Jimmy Dore about it, and he was, of course, destroying her. He had Max Blumenthal on with him, and he was just annihilating her. Somebody did post the numbers on it, and the majority of them were in the first year, and they continued to go down until it was finally legalized, I think in 2016. But it's still, it was still 16 to 1,800 or whatever it was.
Well, and here's the thing is that what has she done as a prosecutor to help reform criminal justice? You're involved in perpetuating a system, and that to me is an issue, just a fundamental issue, because I'm so sick of both these parties, in whether it's Republicans or Democrats, they don't do shit to help criminal justice reform, and it's very frustrating. Police officers they're just arbiters of the law. That's all they do, and prosecutors are the same way. And so, but with a prosecutor, your judicial overreach is so high in stamping on people's rights because you're pushing for plea deals. And I was talking to Chris about this, and you want to know what really affects African Americans and the community is plea deals. They'll plea bargain out because the police will pressure them and use bulldog tactics. in questioning and interrogation tactics, and then they'll bring the prosecutor, the DA along. They'll fucking flop on charges, and they'll push these charges on them, and then all of a sudden they're pleading out. Okay, I'll do 2 years in the pen. I'm not scared to go back to the pen. I'll do 2 years. I'll plea out, and the clearance rates are going up. And so another thing that frustrates me too is that really needs to be talked about is that the stuff that the prosecutors use in courtrooms, such as like police officers can lie to you, by the way, legally. So for example, say that they bring you in, someone close to you dies and you're a suspect. They can bring you in, it's like, hey, we have your fingerprints on the murder weapon, even though that's a fucking lie. They can completely lie to you and say they have your fingerprints on the murder weapon, that they have witnesses saying that you were in the house. All lie tactic to see what you're going to say and to pressure you into like either saying no. That is ridiculous, and prosecutors use that. The case that she knew about, she completely excluded DNA evidence, and she fought against that DNA evidence being released. And it's stuff like that, and you wonder what affects low income and what affects low income neighborhoods. And the reason that we have such a high prison population, it's shit like that, and that's what needs to be talked about. And somebody like, well, why did he pick her of all people he could have picked? I'm still a fence setter. You know what I mean?
And not only that,
that's one person I can't vote for. I cannot vote for Kamala Harris.
That's one thing. I mean, and then she like laughed about and she bragged or at least joked about. I'm not sure if it was a joke. Saying that she had been smoking marijuana and different stuff, right? She
on the Breakfast Club.
On the Breakfast Club, and then there was another clip of her saying it again, and then she's like, while she's arresting these people, and then she has all kinds of crazy ideas for using executive orders. Because I went back through today, just watching through all the clips because I knew they existed. I just wanted to go back through it. I also watched Ben Shapiro too, but I was kind of going back through a lot of the stuff that Kamala Harris was saying, like. She said within the first 100 days, if she was going to become president, she'd give Congress 100 days to ban AR-15s, and if not, she was going to just ban them, and I think all assault rifles through executive order.
If that's what she was president.
Yeah. She said that during one of the debates and she was kind of going back and forth. And Joe Biden's like, and even Joe Biden, he was like, well, you can't do that. You don't have the power to do that kind of a thing. And she's like, no, I would do it. Dude, she's say yes, we can.
If you ever feared now more than ever that we're slipping more and more, and every podcast we seem like we talk about this, but we're slipping more and more into a dictatorial state because we're allowing people to make executive orders. Like, seriously, where is the three branches at? Where is the checks and balances? All these executive orders that were started by Bush and on to Obama, it's getting ridiculous. Yeah. Trump should not make an executive order for a stimulus act, and I know he feels like he has to because he wants people to get money. But and now you're talking about banning firearms strictly against the Second Amendment. I mean, no, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable, especially for you being a prosecutor. I know people out there are talking about gun laws, but there's a better way to do it. There has to be a better way to do it. You cannot run the risk of legislating or making precedents of something like this happen, because the precedents that we're sitting right now are scary, and that's why we have Trump in office. Exactly why.
Well, I mean, if you could use an executive order to buy a specific gun type, then you can use an executive order to ban all gun types or any gun type. I mean, why wouldn't you be able to?
Well, I mean,
but it just doesn't, she doesn't stop there. I mean, she wants to ban fracking. She wants to completely get rid of that, which lowers our costs tremendously. I mean, just in terms of poor people, I mean, energy costs are a big deal.
And jobs.
Fracking is a big deal. And well, that's what they're saying. They're talking about jobs in Pennsylvania specifically. So, I mean, there's that part that's ridiculous. There was another clip where she's talking about, she wants to put some kind of incentives in place to get people to eat less meat. And I don't know what kind of incentives she would do, but anytime these leftists are like, oh, we need to think about the climate and we need to eat less meat, it always makes me a little like, okay, what are you going to do?
Is that
What's
real
your plan?
thing?
That's what she said. It's because of the methane gas, right? So they want to get have fewer cows, and the way you do that is.
Oh, I think I saw something about her saying she likes cheeseburgers.
Yes, that's the same clip. Same clip, and and then at the end of it, she says, because they're asking if she would redo the whole food pyramid and that kind of thing, and she'd put in nutrition guidelines, and she's talking about people eating less red meat.
This is, if you've ever seen,
and incentivizing them to do so.
If you've ever seen the movie Demolition Man, That's like Dr. Cocteau, whatever.
Yeah. This is
It's like you can't eat salt, you can't eat meat, like, and he's like has a rat burger, and he's like, oh, it's the best thing ever. It's scary. It's when you start thinking about how you got to ask yourself, how much do you want the federal government to encroach on your life? And for as much as everybody said about Trump, he's going to be a dictator. He's going to do X, Y, Z, and he could have. I mean, he could have used this opportunity to be like, okay, everyone's staying in their house. We're creating martial law. Everyone's gonna wear a mask. He could have done all this stuff, but you know what he says? The governors need to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe these are talking points for her, but it's still scary.
See, I think they are just talking points, but at the same time, it's like, well, wait a minute. Okay, which ones are real and which ones are not real? Like, I get it. Because, I mean, you're going to keep telling me this bullshit. I'm curious. I want to know which ones you're actually going to try to enforce. And sure, maybe she's just VP if Biden can survive one term, and maybe he would. Maybe Biden is fine. Maybe he's just slow.
He looked good today. And we were talking about that earlier. He sounded good.
I gotta watch that one.
He didn't stumble a whole lot.
Well, but he was reading, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely prompter. I do believe.
Yeah,
and he's very he still mumbles, like he can't form a complete sentence. So I do notice that. Which, I mean, that's people do that now generally, but I don't know, man. I look at how scary some of the stuff is, and how the hell did we end up with Biden Harris out of all the candidates? We're the troop. I mean, Zink from the Young Turks was talking about, okay, so you got somebody that acts like a progressive, and they say that they're afraid to give us a progressive. But she acts like a progressive. Why can't we just have a real progressive that's actually on the ticket?
Yeah.
Why did they do that to Bernie Sanders? Because I think Bernie Sanders is probably beating Trump pretty handily right now, especially with
I think he probably would be, considering everything at this point. He would probably be doing better than Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's not for he's not even for Medicare for all. He's not for a lot of this stuff, right? Which and moderates might say, well, that's good, but at the same time, the base is energized on that part, for Medicare for all and for some of this other stuff. So
another thing that they were hitting on today that kind of infuriated me too. I don't need a political game. I tell us to people do, but I don't want to be sales 101. You know what I mean? Because it's disingenuous. And when they're doing the same shit to us, it really irritates me, because they're like, oh, and on this day is an important day because this was 3 years ago to the day was the Charlotte riots. Or he was talking about that, the
Charlottesville?
Yeah.
Really?
That's what he was saying.
I need to watch it, because I didn't even see it. I didn't know it was even on.
And and that's what he was saying.
I believe you.
And it's I look at how it was facilitated and premeditated to be on a specific day so they can hit specific talking notes. I'm like, can we stop being fake? I mean, can we just stop being fake? I mean, is it that hard to sit here and talk to American people? This is why we need another party, because these two parties are incapable of rationalizing with day-to-day people. And if you think that Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Trump, Pence, any of these people are going to be your day-to-day advocates, it's just not true. It's just not true. And I think Trump's been trying to pull the reins back a little bit. But, I mean, there's no way I could vote for somebody like Kamala Harris. There's just no way.
I think these people, often they're too far removed from your average everyday people to really relate and understand what their actual problems are. And they're only, for the most part, they're just trying to, they give little breadcrumbs, right? They don't really want to fix the problems, but they'll give you a little bit. They'll give you a little bit here and there. But, I mean, there's more. I mean, picking Kamala Harris, it's like... she doesn't bring an additional state. What is her base? Her numbers tanked with Black Americans already. So what does she bring to the table, other than the idea that it's a woman? And he said he was going to pick a woman, and he leaned towards picking a woman of color. So he picks a Black woman.
So it was August 11, 2017 is when Charlottesville happened. And CNN, of course, just garbage news. I mean, they're not even news. Where are the journalists at? Where are the people that the journalists at? I mean, for what I know and for what we talk about, I mean, I mean, I spend, nights like laying in bed reading stuff and trying to read up on stuff before we do a podcast. And like, all you guys do for a living is this. This is
Yeah.
all you guys do. You guys don't have a living. You guys, you're paid to just read off teleprompters and not have a brain. It's ridiculous.
They're paid to like, put together a narrative.
Yep.
And that's what they do. They're really good at putting together that narrative, and and most of it's bullshit.
Yeah, so it says 3 years later, Charlottesville legacy of neo-Nazi hate still festers.
And that what's ridiculous about that is that when you turn on the TV and you look at who's doing all the rioting, destroying, and killing people, it's obviously the left.
And no one...
Like, where are all these white supremacists in the street, that are doing all this terrible stuff? They tried to blame this one guy who was trying to incite violence and broke a couple windows, but he didn't start the riot. These aren't a bunch of white supremacists that get all these riots going. These are...
Well, some of them are protests, that turn into, and I don't denounce that there's not bad actors, but here's the thing is, so many people came up against the people marching in Charlottesville, like the people with like tiki torches and whatnot. Those people are absolute garbage, and but I haven't met anybody that thinks those people are good people.
No, and then they didn't remember they were going to do a second one, right? Unite the Right, do it like a second version of it, and like 50 people showed up. There was more media than people that they didn't even fill up like one train car, on the subway or whatever, and that's it, Well, and that was all. So so at the same time, it's like, where are all these and dude, even total KKK members, they're placing that between like 3,000 and 6,000 in a country of 329 million, and neo Nazis I think is even less than that. So you're looking at very small number of people, actual neo-Nazis, KKK members, white supremacists. There's just not. I mean, I know it's used as like a boogeyman, but it's not. It's really not that crazy these days.
Well, and
not good, but
yeah. I mean, I just think it's, you got so many people out there that just aren't going to put up with their shit.
Yeah, there was one time I believe. It was many years ago, back when the KKK was still big and like most of the Democratic Party was in it. Or at least a lot of the Democratic Party was in it, but the KKK, I think, was up to like 4 million members at one point.
Damn.
This was I think it was late 1800s.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, but that's, just to imagine, though, it being like 4 million people and now dropped down to about 5,000.
Well, that's directly a result of the end of the Civil War, a lot of disparity going on, people losing ranches or, plantations. And so let's see here. I'm going to load this up. This is the Tulsi Gabbard versus Kamala Harris.
We can put that actual video just right in the end because it's so good. You're gonna have to go to, if you get the 8-minute version, if you get the 8-minute CNN one.
This is 4:49.
Okay, because I was gonna say you're gonna have to go about the 4-minute mark. So it's about a 4-minute clip.
So here we go. Tulsi Gabbard, dude, she just looks like such a badass.
Oh, she looks. The white was perfect.
The way she was like you're looking at this. I just paused it, but like she's like staring, like it's like, oh man, I'm waiting for this.
She's been in the military, strong personality, knows who she is, knows what she believes.
Dude, her accounts of her being in the military are touching too.
Yeah,
just like looking at the card every day to see who died or who's been hurt or wounded. And
if her and Dan Crenshaw ran together. I know there are different sides of the political aisle, but they're both like...
I don't know much about Dan Crenshaw.
Oh, you don't know much? Crenshaw's real cool. Because on the right, he reminds me of her, but he's just on the right. But he's probably more of a... He might be more of a party animal.
I don't know more. I don't know more. I don't know much about a lot of the conservatives.
Have you seen it? Do you watch Joe Rogan with him? He's had two... He's been on Joe Rogan twice.
He's on the eye patch, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it all the way. I did see some of it. And I know Joe Rogan really likes Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah, it's because he's honest.
Yeah.
I may not agree with all the stuff he says, but he's pretty honest. You don't
have to be concerned. I'm just so sick of... we need to stop adhering to political lines. I just feel like a broken record when I say, like, we need a fucking third party. The shit wouldn't happen anymore. All right, here we go.
That has sickened the Democratic Party. What is the rot you see in the Democratic Party?
Get it.
That our Democratic Party, unfortunately, is not the party that is of, by, and for the people. It is a party that has been and continues to be influenced by the foreign policy establishment in Washington, represented by Hillary Clinton and others' foreign policy, by the military-industrial complex and other greedy corporate interests. I'm running for president to be the Democratic nominee.
Is this a correct clip?
That rebuilds our Democratic Party, takes it out of their hands, and truly puts it in the hands of the people.
Damn. Just strong opening. She's always well spoken too.
Okay, I thought you were gonna play the piece where she destroys Kamala Harris.
I'm going to
because that's a different one. Because
this is like a clip. It's just gonna it's gonna skip back and forth.
oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
So I just played the opening to her. Like that was her opening statement.
I was such a big Tulsi Gabbard fan. It's sad that she's going to be out of, because I think she's done after this. I think she's going to step away.
Is she? Why?
Well, 'cause she was already planning on it. She if she didn't move past that, I think she was going to leave the representative seat. And I think they were running somebody against her anyway, I believe.
Oh,
But-
in Hawaii?
Yeah, I think they were running a Democrat against her in the primary.
That's such bullshit.
I'm pretty sure. I'm quite sure because I heard about it before. It's been a little while since I looked it up.
Is that this year?
I think so. And she just decided to step away anyway. So I think she's going to move to the mainland too. So maybe she might end up being back in politics again because I think she's like my age, or whatever. I think she's 38 or something.
Yeah, it's right here. Tulsi Gabbard won't run for re-election.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's part of. I think it's part of the party stuff, and I think it's. I'm not sure if she's trying to settle down and have a little bit of a family too, because she has a husband and things, and
That's ridiculous. So we're losing good people in Congress.
yeah, for probably some kind of other party animal.
And
kind of
do you
guy.
know how they smear you and they go after you? That's what's got to stop. Honestly, about the way our politics are. I mean, you saw the opening statement from her. It's just got to stop, man. I don't know what to say besides the fact that nothing will ever change if you have people that are going after truant kids or people that don't have the best interest of the American people at heart. And did you see that video I posted on Ask9 about Jimmy Dore talking about Bill Clinton? Like this isn't our party. Like we're just not. There's a party, but we're just not invited. Everyone's in the cool kids club. Republicans and
We're just not in
Democrats. We're just not invited to the cool kids club.
George Carlin has a very similar piece to that. It's really good.
Dude. And so he posted that on there.
Oh,
And it was George Carlin,
Oh, it
and
was?
it was all centered on Trump, and there was no liberals in it, and that's not what George Carlin was talking about. He's talking about both parties, not just
Yeah.
the fucking conservative party.
Yeah, that's exactly what Carlin was doing. I mean, Carlin, he would have been more on the left, but at the same time, he just destroyed politicians. And it's so great. It's so
I can't
good.
believe he
Such
got
good
away
stuff.
with half the stuff he said. But
Imagine saying that today. But I mean, I guess Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle and some of those guys do say some of that stuff. But I still don't know anybody like Carlin.
no, dude, he went hard. He went hard in the paint, for sure. So, all right, we'll wrap it up. Anything else you want to say about Kamala Harris?
My God, like how did it come to this? Like there was people who were better for the job, and she somehow got to this position too.
Susan Rice was good.
I think she would have at least been a better choice in terms of
Carolyn Baxter or
Bass.
Bass, yeah.
I actually don't know all their names now, even though they always constantly get ran off.
Yeah, that was another one, and she was the.
But there was a representative in California. There was the mayor
of
of Atlanta. Where he could have went different directions, but he shouldn't have boxed himself in like, oh no, I'm only going to pick between black women. That's it. It's like, should you just try to find the best person for the job, as opposed to just looking for someone that checks certain boxes first?
Well, why does this black woman just have to stick with politicians?
Yeah, I don't
Why
know.
couldn't this black woman be part of education system
Yeah, because I mean, he could have done
or be
he could
another
have done
leader in
something
the
different.
community?
Yeah,
I mean, Trump. I mean, he's just a businessman. You tell me
Yeah.
there's no successful black women out there that aren't business. I mean, I'm sure there are.
yeah.
I mean, I just think that she had name recognition. She's not afraid to put herself out there. I think Kamala Harris. I think she's going to do good against Pence. I don't think Pence is going to do very good against her, right? And that's just my opinion.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think. Oh man, I don't think Pence debates very well, and I know we talked about this earlier, but I think he didn't do very well against Tim Klein, and I think that he hasn't had a debate in 4 years,
Probably.
and she's just went through all these debates. You know, she was used to Tulsi coming at her, so she's already kind of had some prep going on, and so I think that's a little bit of stagnant time frame there might hurt Pence even more.
Yeah,
So, and
yeah,
you
we'll see
never
what
know.
happens.
Maybe she'll be debating Trump for the presidency.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, man.
All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
See ya.